Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, wherever you're tuning in from. This is BS Buddies Podcast. I'm your host, Joe. That is your host, Ian. And today, we're going to be talking about some video games from our past, or present, if we're still playing them to this day, that we think deserve a remaster, or to just be kind of re-released, and just kind of
have a following come back around for them. There are a fair amount of games that I wish were still alive and well to this day, but sadly, as the passage of time moves along, new trends hit, and people forget about them. It is what it is.
And we got about 5 each, so we'll just kind of go back and forth, explain why we would want such and such game remastered, then just kind of hash it out. Our fate.
And
I don't know. We'll go from
we'll
there.
go from there. Jinx, you owe me a Coke. We'll take it forward one little piece at a time. Would you like to start this shaboom, or would you like me to?
I suppose I can go first. I won't say the first one I wrote down because I'll go with more like as an overarching community that I feel like we deserve 2 of these games to come back because I love them both, and they're in the same series.
All right, very well.
I gotta go with COD, Black Ops 1 and 2. I think they both deserve a remaster. Black Ops 1, fun fact, I have completed the campaign on the Nintendo Wii, PlayStation 3, 360, and Nintendo DS.
Nice.
The DS, I want to say the campaign for Black Ops 1 on the DS is completely different than any of the consoles.
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%.
It even had multiplayer. I thought that was awesome.
There was a certain magic to the way some of those old multiplayer handhelds used to work. Like, do you remember the PSP at all?
Yes.
This is off topic, but in the same vein. My buddy, one of my buddies, you know him, from childhood, he had PSP. He actually had 2 PSPs, and we used to play the Medal of Honor series. I don't know if you remember the Medal of Honor series.
Oh yeah.
But that used to have like the local area network play, and they could like connect through. I don't know if it ran like a Bluetooth thing or what, but it used to have like a little AI, so then you could both jump in the same game, and it was like, those long car rides. You're both in the back, like, oh, PSP was ahead of its time. I love the way those old multiplayers used to work. There was just something magical about it.
But it was definitely interesting, like going from like playing CODs now and going back and seeing the graphics on that is just insane.
Yeah, well, it's honestly, it's insane because like I've seen people have done comparisons to the old Call of Duty games, like the original Modern Warfare series and Black Ops and all of that, and they're like, "Oh my God, look at these graphical upgrades! Look how much better the new ones look!" And it's crazy to me because I still remember thinking that the old games looked really good, and to some extent, they still do for me. They are still very impressive visually, even after so many years. It's like, wow, looking at the upgrade between the PS2 and original Xbox to the PS3 and the 360 was like a huge leap. And granted, then the next leap between the 3 and the 360 to the 4 and the 5 and the 1 and the Series X and S, it's like it's still a leap, but in my opinion, not quite as big. Like,
It's
just
more of
following
a
that.
step instead of a leap.
Yeah, it's the diminishing returns and all of that good stuff. So I just think it's funny whenever people are like, wow, look how terrible this game looks. I'm like, what are you talking about? That game still looks pretty good for being 13, 14, 15 years old. It's pretty fantastic that it still holds up like that. But I guess I am in the minority on that opinion. So
I think Black Ops 2 still looks pretty good, even though that is early 2010s. But I played it a few years back, the classic zombies on there, and it's so clunky to play compared to new CODs. It's so the movement just makes my skin crawl. Like, it's like, okay, I'm glad we have better movement in these games, but like those are 2 of the ones I think need a remaster. At least campaign. Like throw them like, hey, here's Black Ops 1 and 2 campaign remastered. We'll work on
Right.
multiplayer later.
Right. Well, and following the trend of Call of Duty, I was going to have another one be my number one, but I'll just use this as a nice segue. There are Call of Duties that I would like remastered too, but mine are even older. Mine would be Call of Duty Classic, and granted, this is any one of these old games. Just redo them because I think they were great. But I'm a very campaign oriented individual. I can't play Call of Duty multiplayer anymore. I'm terrible at it.
I love it.
But like,
I've been so burnt out on it. I've overplayed it. I'm still very good at it in my own opinion, but I got
uh,
other games I'm way more invested in.
that's fair. One thing I want to see though is, and part of this is for my own childhood, and part of this is because I want the newer generations. I hate myself for saying that. I want the newer generations to understand where Call of Duty came from, to know why it's so garbage today. There's the controversial take of the evening. Um, but like Call of Duty Classic, Call of Duty 2, Call of Duty Big Red 1, Call of Duty Finest Hour, Call of Duty 3. Heck,
3
I'll
was
even
good.
take Call of Duty World at War Final Fronts. That is a very under the radar gem. See, most people remember World at War, right? That was most people's first World War II Call of Duty was World at War, but there's actually a whole arsenal of Call of Duties before that, and they were very story heavy. Like, for example, Call of Duty Big Red 1. I love that one because that one follows the first infantry division. And fun fact for the story is that all of the voice actors in that game are actually actors from the show Band of Brothers. So, for any of you Band of Brothers fans out there who maybe never played the games, it's kind of fun to hear all those characters that you remembered from the show, and then here they are voicing the characters in one of my favorite games growing up. So I always thought that was cool. But getting back to World at War Final Fronts, there was actually a PlayStation 2 version of Call of Duty World at War, and it was called World at War Final Fronts, and it had the Pacific campaign was all the same, but there was no Russian campaign. Instead, it was replaced. There was a British paratrooper and an American Armored Division in Europe campaign. And it was like it just really cool to see. You could definitely see the similarities between the old gen and the new gen version of the games, but I just always thought it was interesting that we had one game under the same name, two very different versions. And it just always made me chuckle. But I definitely agree, like what you said, some of the controls on those old games are a bit more clunky. I'm not sure how trying to remap those controls would work. Like
I
just
don't
just
even
to put
think
it
it
in,
would work.
just to put it in perspective for you, I got Max Payne on the PlayStation Store on my girlfriend's console because I saw that it was on there. I was like, oh, I love playing Max Payne on my PS2 when I was growing up. I want to get Max Payne, and it looks all fancy. They made it look all pretty and stuff like that. But the jump button is R2. The jump button is the R2 button.
That's weird.
So it's definitely interesting to look back at the Wild West days of controller mapping when it was just sort of, hey, do whatever you want. There was nothing standardized or across the board. So you might need to update a few of them controls, but I feel like it could work. I just bring back some of those old ones so that I can relive those fun games I had playing up, and the story mode specifically. I'm not a multiplayer man.
I
Bring
could
back the story mode.
I could definitely talk about COD for an entire video, but I'm gonna uh, go to the next one.
Just speed
I
it along.
I thought of a second one with this topic because they're both baseball games. Big baseball guy. First one is Power Pros. Power Pros 2008 is my favorite video game. I probably sunk the most amount of time in it. And I'd love for them to do like today's players, like pretty much everything the same, just new players. I think they lost the licensing or they didn't update it, so that's like the last game, '08. They do make newer ones, but they're all in Japanese. So little
Oh,
rougher. Uh, but that's one I would love to see come back personally. The other one, uh, I feel like a lot of '90s kids would enjoy seeing a comeback is Backyard Baseball for PC. Uh, we had the original like 1999 Backyard Baseball. I thought of it today. That's why I wanted to tack it on. And I know there's emulators online, and I just keep forgetting to like learn how to do that. I would sink so much time into Backyard Baseball. Pete Wheeler, Pablo Sanchez, like those are my guys. I'm putting them at the
You-
top of my lineup. They're gonna pitch for me and be amazing.
Bringing them back, you're gonna be knocking homers all day long, right? Now that you're older and you know how to properly play the game, you
Yeah,
remember how to properly play the game anyway.
one one game. Speaking of that, I I thought like, oh, I'm gonna play this old retro game and I'm just gonna crush, which is Diddy Kong Racing. Great game as well. I would love to see that come back. But that game is still ridiculously hard when I was playing it at like 23 years old, wondering, no wonder I lost as a child. Why is this so difficult? Like the boss levels that you have to race.
Oh,
Not like just the regular races, but the boss ones are just incredibly difficult for some reason.
dude, them old games had no mercy. Like sometimes, yeah, going back and playing it as an adult, you're like, my God, how did I ever do this as a kid? Like, there's no direction, no hints. It's super difficult. Yeah, some of them old games really had no mercy.
And then you have the opposite where you you'll go back and be like, "Oh, yeah, like definitely just a young kid, obviously had no idea and just stomp the whole game all
Yeah,
the
you
way through."
just blow through it. You're like, wow, how did I ever have trouble with this as a child? Oh, that's right, I was stupid. Like,
uh, but those are my there are two more of mine, Ian. What's your
your
next
next
one?
two. So next up, I would love, absolutely love, a remaster of the Sly Cooper series. That game was my shit as a kid. And for anyone who's unfamiliar with the Sly Cooper series,
That would be me.
it is in the same vein as Jack and Daxter, Ratchet and Clank, and Spyro. Sly Cooper is a raccoon thief with his sidekick turtle Bentley the brains and their muscle hippopotamus Murray the brawn. And there are four games, um, each
I'm
one
gonna look this up.
spanning each one spanning different villains and different tasks that you need to complete. And the games were so much fun. Like they were open world in a sense. The first game was a little bit more linear, but the second game was definitely more open world, and it was cool because like it would drop you into your area where you were going to be, and then you would go around the map doing missions in order as the story progressed, and you would learn more about it. And like the voice acting was phenomenal. The animations, the controls were smooth. Like you had perk systems, you could like upgrade to like do different moves and sneak around and have all these different like tactics. Like one of them was my favorite. Bentley in the third game, he's because he's the brains of the operation because he's a turtle, right? He's not agile. He uses gadgets, and one of the gadgets he has is like this little grenade thing that you throw it and it sticks to a surface, and then he can play sound clips through it to lure enemies away so you can sneak through the area. And the sound clips are just hilarious. Like one of them is just straight up "Your mama." It's like you throw this little grenade in a corner. You'd be like "Your mama," and the guard will be like, "Who said that?" And then my headphones will come off, and then he'll like run over to the area and like look around all mad. And they never did finish it. So after they made the fourth game, the first three games were on the PlayStation 2, and then the fourth game was on the PS3. And the fourth game was picked up by a different studio. Some people loved it, some people hate it. I thought it was fun. I just liked seeing a comeback of the Sly Cooper series. And they ended the fourth game on a cliffhanger, and that was 11 years ago. And there's been no mention at all of anything coming down the pipeline, but it just makes me so sad because at one point Sly Cooper was considered one of the mascots of Sony and the PlayStation, and so I would love to see a resurgence of that.
When
Just
it,
to oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say when I looked it up, like there's a YouTube video saying like it's Sly Cooper is coming to the PS5 2024. Um, I don't know how accurate that is, but it was one of the first things that popped up.
I'm sure it'll be a re-release of all the previous games because they've done that before. They've done a re-release of the previous games for the new consoles, and as much as I appreciate that, as cool as they are, maybe a little touch up here and there would be good for it. You know what I mean? You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? I'd more prefer if they finish what they started on the fourth game instead because I'm super upset. I'm upsetty spaghetti. At one point, it was going to be a movie back in like 2016. There was even a trailer made for it and everything, but that never happened either. So it's just kind of been sitting stagnant for a number of years, and it's I don't know how out in the media it is anymore, but I know that there's a few diehard fans left out there, and we're holding out hope that it'll come back.
So my next one is I don't know how this ended up relating to yours, but people I'm sure have been waiting I think about 11 years for this as well, which the developer said no, not doing that because I made too much money, but I want to go back to those nostalgic high school days of ours.
Oh no.
And in some realm, doesn't have to be the exact, but I want a remaster of Flappy Bird.
I knew it was gonna be Flappy Bird. The second you said, "Oh, the creator said no because he made too much money."
I saw your
Oh
head go
man.
back like, oh, he's gonna do it, isn't he?
Oh, I knew immediately. Dude, Flappy Bird. Wow, that takes me back. That was all the rage of like the memes and everything in 2012 for you youngsters out there, back when mobile games first got popular, like Fruit Ninja and all that, when smartphones first became a thing. One of the biggest ones out there was Flappy Bird.
It
And
was
for
like I would compare it to like Fortnite, like when it first dropped and how big that was.
yeah,
It
levels of
just
popularity.
sustained way more. Flappy Bird was like a year of just solid excitement, and then the developer, not even a year, but the developer is like, I'm making way too much for this stupid game. Shut it down.
He pulled it. He pulled it because he was making too much money. People were getting super upset about it. They released like one update for it and then pulled it. Interestingly enough, my iPod fourth generation that's upstairs right now still works, has the original Flappy Bird on it, like
I,
pre-update. I never got the update, so I still have the shitty hitbox. Which, by the way, quick rundown for anyone who doesn't know what Flappy Bird is. It was one of those stupid games. I'm sure you've seen a million ripoffs of it, where it's
yep.
like Mario pipes are on the screen and you have to fly through these pipes, and you make him fly by tapping. So he falls and you tap to make him bounce up, and you have to fly him through these pipes. And the game was notorious because it had terrible hitboxes. You could be in the middle of the pipes and it would still be like, oh no, you hit one, fail, gotta restart. And there were people who had like streaks of like 200 pipes that they made it through, and everyone was like, how do you do that? And he's like, I stayed up till 3 in the morning last night, just
Yeah,
oh
there's one
god.
person in the grade below me that I think got all the way to the end, which was 999, and apparently like Mario came out and just killed you anyway. I think that's how the game ends.
Oh, that would be hilarious if that was true. I don't know if the guy got the copyrights for that, but I would
Or like a
love to
rip
see.
off Mario.
He just stomps you. He just comes down and says, no,
I
you've
I
been
bel
doing too well.
I believe it's like a fire Mario. I think I've seen a clip. It could have been fake, but I'm pretty sure that's the ending of Flappy Bird. You get to 999 and then you just try and survive this Mario looking guy throwing fireballs at you, and then like you cannot get to 1,000. or whatever the
then it's
number
just
is.
done. Then it's just done.
Yep.
Oh wow.
But just the nostalgia and seeing people like compare
Get
scores and get
super
excited.
angry at that. Yeah. Wow.
Angry.
How far we've come in mobile games since then.
What's
Well,
your next one?
my next one, and it's funny you mention Flappy Bird because I think of Hill Climb Racing, if you remember that one.
Yep. I played that quite a
And
bit.
I still have that one on my iPod as well. But Hill Climb Racing, back in the days of the craze of racing games on console, I should say, I want to see a remaster of the ATV Off Road Fury series. That was a series that was so much fun, and a lot of people will probably remember this game because there was multiple of them old dirt bike versus quad racing games. Like a lot of people's
I had
favorites,
one.
MX versus ATV.
Untamed. That's the one I still have. I played it like 6 months ago. Still fun.
Oh yeah, but the thing that made ATV Off-Road Fury special and funny for a lot of people was that was the game where if you drove to the edge of the map boundary and then kept driving, you would hit the invisible wall and it would just fling you 100 miles an hour back into the into the game world. And like some of the stuff that you could do on that game was just there was one map that had a little train that would just like ride around it and you could get your ATV up on there, and me and my friends in the free ride mode we used to get up onto the very front the engine, and the trick was to see how long you could stay on it because as it would take its turns your ATV had a
Oh yeah.
tendency to drift off of it, and sometimes if you fell off in just the right way, just bing, you'd go flying off in some direction. And the amount of fun that I had in that game growing up was just amazing. So I'd love to see a remaster of the ATV Off-Road Fury series. I know racing games aren't exactly in popularity these days, and if they are, it's usually something like Forza or what's isn't there another popular racing one that's these days? Everyone focuses on
Um,
realism.
the Dirt is another one. I think.
Rally
The
racing.
Crew.
Yeah, that I want to see a comeback of arcade racing. Like MotorStorm. Do you remember MotorStorm?
Nope.
MotorStorm was a PS3 one. That was one of the first games like to come out on PS3, and that was super big because it showcased all the like effects of the PlayStation 3 and the 360 and the graphics and all that. And that was a fun one where it was just like a hodgepodge of Baja trucks, dirt bikes, quads, rally cars, like everyone's all racing at once. And that was another really fun one back in the day. But yeah, I'd just love to see a resurgence of the ATV Off-Road Fury because that arcade racing on ATVs was unmatched, and the soundtrack for the game. I still listen to that soundtrack to this day.
So you're gonna be upset with me over this one.
Oh no.
I'm gonna just say the title and explain why. I won't even dance around it. Um, thank you, Ian, for reminding me. Battle Block Theater would be something I would love to see come back, or have Battle Block Theater 2. So the
Yeah.
reason why I said all that to begin with, Ian and I have a history with that game. Ian has not had proud moments playing me in that game when we would play 1v1 mini
No, that
games. He messed up one of my controllers one time, and yeah, I won't say the rest, but it, we've learned.
I I feel bad. Okay, that that game was something else, man. Okay, I have grown as a person. I have changed since then. I
You
want
definitely
everyone to
have.
know. Want everyone to know that if I could go back in time, I would slap the ever loving hell out of younger me for that one. But that game knew how to press my buttons, no pun intended, in all the right ways. I actually did. I think I bought it on. It was on sale on the Xbox Marketplace for like $1, and I think I bought that game just to go back into it because it was a lot of fun. I love the art style. I love the simpleness of it. It was a lot of fun. It was just it's one of those games that's designed to just it's like a cheese grater rubbing against you. Just oh god, I could just feel my blood boiling. I'm not going to
So,
say any more on the matter. On that.
so I will. Um, so if you want to see, we actually recorded us playing 1v1 10 years ago on my main channel. It's linked down below. Just search up Battle Block Theater.
Please
But
don't.
to to say
Please don't.
it's a really fun game. I played campaign with another buddy and we almost beat the whole thing, but it's a platformer that's can be rage inducing. It gets way more difficult. It's not like a Super Meat Boy rage platformer, but it's really silly. It's really fun to go through. But yeah, I only played with Ian just the 1v1 and that was not great, but I I've honestly been thinking maybe we could stream it, like just going through the campaign together. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, we could do a little 1v1. Like I said, I have grown and changed as a person.
As
I
long as
don't,
you're not holding one of my controllers, I will gladly 1v1 you.
I don't want.
Why
I
don't you go
don't.
with your next one so we don't have to
Yeah,
recount this?
I'm just gonna move right along
Really
to the
fun
very
game.
next.
Would love Battle Block Theater 2.
Um, I will say this: what a game that I feel should definitely be remastered and re-released. Guitar Hero.
Yes. Yes.
100% Guitar Hero. And like I know some people are gonna say, "Oh, they did release. They had Rocksmith or whatever it was."
Rock Band.
No, Rock Band, and then there was Rocksmith where you played with a real guitar.
Oh,
And like I know, and I even know that they had like the PlayStation 3 version or whatever of Guitar Hero where like you had it was like six buttons, top and bottom. None of that mumbo jumbo.
Guitar
None of
Hero
that mumbo
5 had
jumbo.
that, where you had three
I
on the bottom, three on the top. That one was weird.
Yeah, I'm talking about going all the way back to the classic days of like Guitar Hero, World Tour, 1, 2, and 3, and all of that.
I a few months ago I got a kick back to World Tour. I just have the final gig to do, and I've tried to do every gig on hard. I don't think I'm gonna be able to do it for the last one because I don't know if you remember the last gig, but
I don't know if I ever got that far.
we got Re-Education Through Labor by Rise Against. Good song, probably wouldn't be too difficult on hard. Then you have, I believe, Trapped Under Ice by Metallica. You have Hot for Teacher by Van Halen. You have BYOB by System of a Down. And one or two other very tough
Holy
songs.
moly!
All
Yeah, I
at the end.
yeah I want to see and like the original guitar with the whole green, yellow, red, orange, blue,
5
like
buttons.
all those buttons.
5.
Yes, 5 buttons. That's the classic. That's the one everyone loves. Everyone keeps trying to reinvent the wheel whenever they did Guitar Hero. They're like, well, what if we add buttons way up at the top and when we have 6 of them and a whammy bar and then here's a little next line? No, 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 no. You don't got to get that crazy with it. We don't need to be competitive. This is arcade guitar. We're here to have fun and enjoy ourselves because
If you
I have. Oh, go
I
ahead.
was just going to say if you want tough and challenging, play Osu. It's like if you want K-pop tough Guitar Hero, play Osu.
Heck, play piano tiles on your phone if you
That
want
too.
tough to follow.
I
I
love
still
piano
boot up
tiles.
Guitar Hero every now and again and play it. I love playing Guitar Hero. It's fantastic.
I need to get
I,
another guitar so I can play 2 player here.
well, I guess I can take Battle Block Theater off my little list now
Damn,
since you mentioned it.
I didn't mean to take that from you. You just said it before we recorded. I'm like, that would be perfect.
I know I didn't spell it right here in my notebook. I
Oh,
spelled it as Battle Block Theater.
I might have spelt it right. I don't know.
I
Um,
might have. It's possible.
but anything else on Guitar Hero?
No, I've got nothing. I've got one more honorable mention on my list here that I would love to see come back. But it's a DLC, not necessarily a game.
My last one, it's because it's one of the first single. I'm a big multiplayer guy, so it's one of the first single player games I ever completed. I think quite a few people hated it for some reason. I didn't play 1 or 2, but this is the third installment to the game. BioShock Infinite. I
Oh, yeah, Bioshock was a classic.
I would love to see. I think last year I replayed it and beat it again because I love the game. I think just an upgraded graphics and just a little bit of the clunkiness taken away, and like that's it. Like I thought the ending was very interesting, and it still hurts my brain thinking about it. I won't. I won't spoil it. You can just go look it up. I actually recorded the ending on my main channel as well. So if you wanted to watch me play the last 20 or so minutes of it, you can look up that. But I did really enjoy it. I thought it was very unique from other games that I've played, and especially it being the first single player game I ever completed. It holds a special place.
That's fair. That's fair. I never played any of the Bioshocks myself, but I know that they were wildly popular and they did look very interesting. I just never got around to getting into it or getting to try it. Although one that I did get into and I loved very much, and this is rare for me because I'm not much of an old western kind of guy.
Ye-
Um, I, I have moods that I get into where I like to play some old westerns, but it's not typically what you'll find me playing. However, there was a DLC for Red Dead Redemption, the first one. Not Red Dead Revolver. We're not going back that far. But there was a DLC for Red Dead Redemption called Undead Nightmare. Did you ever play this, Joe?
I've watched people play it, and it looks
Un
interesting.
Undead Nightmare was probably one of my favorite takes on the whole zombie apocalypse scenario, simply for the level of variety that it had. Because I would love to see an Undead Nightmare mode come to like Red Dead Redemption 2. Now, I haven't played through the campaign of Red Dead Redemption 2. I know, shame on me. Like you said, not a Western guy. But and also shame on Rockstar for basically abandoning it. Abandoning it.
Yeah,
RDR2 is a very beautiful game.
they've they've abandoned so many projects. Like Bully 2 is not coming.
Yeah. So, Hootie Hawk Cowboy 2, I want to see an Undead Nightmare mode because Undead Nightmare was absolutely fantastic. I mean, the expansion for the DLC, I mean, it is basically like a whole second game for the price of a cheeseburger. And the variety of enemies in the game and the creepiness factor. I mean, like, you could be riding along a trail and you're like, oh, there's one zombie, I can handle him. And you turn the corner, and then boom, there's like 15 of them that heard your gunshot. Now they're all charging after you, and you're like, oh my god, I need to go. And the atmosphere was super spooky, and it was, and honestly, it started out, it was just like a Halloween special. It was just supposed to be for fun, but people loved it so much it became its own official DLC and hung around. So I would love to see something like that come to Red Dead Redemption 2, just for how much fun it was. And I feel like they could do very well with it if they took it in the right direction. Put that as my caveat. If they took it in the right direction,
But it's Rockstar. You
it
never know
is.
what's gonna happen. Uh, but with that, I think we're about ready for quotes. And that little snippet of me saying Bully 2, that's an honorable mention for me. That should happen. I don't know why it hasn't. But quotes. I'll go first, and mine is by Franklin D. Roosevelt. The only limit to our realization of tomorrow will be our doubts of today.
Ooh, getting philosophical with it, are we? Good old Roosevelt coming in clutch for us. See, mine's not nearly that one. Mine's by Robert Benchley. Drinking makes such fools of people, and people are such fools to begin with, that it's compounding a felony.
I like that.
uh,
But thank you guys for watching. If there's any remastered games that or games you wish were remastered, comment down below. We can have a discussion about why you are probably right.
oh yeah, let us know some of your favorites that you played as a kid growing up, like Wii Sports. Let's see Wii Sports make a comeback. I want to get back in that boxing ring with Matt.
They did remake Wii Sports, but they butchered it royally.
Yeah, I believe that. That seems to be a common trend with bringing back old games today. But
But
in the meantime, you all just make sure you take it easy now.